There is a particular kind of silence that follows the end of a relationship. Not peaceful silence, not the silence of a Sunday morning. It is the silence of a room where someone used to be. And the strange thing is, you can feel that absence not just in the space around you, but somewhere inside your chest, as though a part of the architecture of who you are has been quietly removed. Most people call this heartbreak, but that word, as familiar as it is, doesn't quite capture what's actually happening, because what you're experiencing isn't only grief over another person, it's something closer to a loss of self. And understanding why that happens, really understanding it, might be one of the most important things you can do for yourself right now. Let's start with something that psychology has known for decades, but that most of us are never taught. When we form a close attachment to another person, we don't just bond with them emotionally, we begin to organize our identity around them. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and later expanded by researchers like Mary Ainsworth, describes how human beings are wired from birth to seek proximity to others for safety and regulation. As adults, this doesn't disappear. It simply shifts. The people we love most become what psychologists call attachment figures, anchors for our nervous system, mirrors for our sense of self, and reference points for how we understand the world. When you're in a relationship, you unconsciously build a version of yourself that exists in relation to that person. Your routines carry their shape, your future holds their presence. Even your sense of humor, your weekend habits, the way you describe yourself to strangers, all of it becomes quietly threaded through with them. So when the relationship ends, you don't just lose a person, you lose the scaffolding that was holding a particular version of you in place. And that is why heartbreak can feel less like sadness and more like vertigo. You reach for the ground and it isn't there. This is not weakness. This is not dependency in some shameful sense. This is what it means to have loved someone fully. Carl Jung wrote extensively about the way we project parts of ourselves onto the people we love. He called this the anima and animus, the inner figures we carry, the qualities we haven't yet fully claimed in ourselves, which we often see most vividly in another person. When we fall in love, we are partly falling in love with a reflection of our own unlived potential. And when that person leaves, we don't just lose them. We lose the mirror. We lose the parts of ourselves we could only see when they were looking back at us. This is why the grief of heartbreak can feel so disorienting. You're not only mourning a relationship, you're mourning a self. And here is where it gets even more complicated. The pain of heartbreak is not metaphorical, it is neurological. Brain imaging studies have shown that the same regions activated by physical pain are activated by social rejection and romantic loss. Your brain processes the end of a relationship as a genuine threat to survival, because for most of human history, being separated from your attachment figure was exactly that. Isolation meant danger. Loss meant vulnerability. So when your body feels like it's in crisis after a breakup, it isn't being dramatic. It is responding to a signal that, at a very deep level, reads as something essential has been taken away. Knowing this doesn't make the pain disappear, but it does change the relationship you have with it. You are not falling apart because you are weak. You are falling apart because you are human, and because you loved someone, and because your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now here is where philosophy becomes genuinely useful, not as a way to bypass the pain, but as a way to move through it with more dignity. The Stoics had a practice they called distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. They were not cold people. They were not indifferent to loss. What they understood with remarkable clarity is that suffering deepens when we confuse the two. When we spend our energy trying to control what has already happened, or trying to force a future that is no longer available, we add a second layer of pain on top of the first. The relationship is over. That is outside your control. What remains inside your control is how you meet this moment. What you choose to do with the silence. What you decide to learn about yourself in the wreckage. This is not toxic positivity. It is not a suggestion that everything happens for a reason, or that you should be grateful for your pain. It is something quieter and more honest than that. It is the recognition that even in the worst moments, you retain a kind of inner freedom. The freedom to choose your response, to choose your values, to choose who you are becoming. Viktor Frankl, whose work in Man's Search for Meaning explored how human beings find purpose even in conditions of extreme suffering, described this inner freedom as the last of the human freedoms, the one that cannot be taken away. His insight was not that pain is good. It was that pain, when met with awareness and intention, can become a doorway into something deeper in yourself. That idea has particular weight in the context of heartbreak, because the question that heartbreak forces you to ask, "Who am I without this person?" is not only a painful question, it is also one of the most important questions you will ever sit with. Who are you actually when the relationship is no longer defining you? What do you value when no one is watching? What kind of person do you want to be, not for someone else, but for yourself? These are not questions you can answer in the first week or the first month. Grief has its own timeline, and it deserves to be respected, but they are questions worth holding, because inside them is the beginning of something, not a replacement for what you lost, but a return to something that was always yours. There is also something worth naming about the invisible emotional labor that happens inside relationships. The constant attunement, the managing of another person's moods, the quiet adjustments you make to keep the peace or to feel loved. Many people only notice how much of this they were doing once the relationship ends. And the exhaustion that surfaces in the aftermath isn't only grief. It's the body finally being allowed to rest. If you find yourself feeling strangely empty after a breakup, not just sad, but hollow, it may be because so much of your energy was quietly flowing outward, toward them, toward the relationship, toward a version of yourself that was shaped around their needs and expectations. The work of healing, in part, is the work of reclaiming that energy, slowly, without forcing it, letting yourself be curious about what you actually want, what you actually feel, what you actually think, when no one else's preferences are in the room. Jung called this process individuation, the gradual movement toward becoming more fully yourself. It is rarely comfortable. It often requires confronting parts of yourself you'd rather not look at. But it is also, in the deepest sense, the point. The self that emerges from genuine grief is not the same self that entered the relationship. It is more honest, more grounded, more its own. Heartbreak is not a detour from your life. It is part of it. And the pain you are carrying right now, as real and as heavy as it is also evidence of your capacity to love, to attach, to be fully present with another human being. That capacity doesn't disappear when the relationship ends. It waits. So if you are in the middle of this right now, if you feel like a stranger to yourself, if the future looks blank, if you keep reaching for something that isn't there, please hear this. What you are experiencing is not a sign that something is permanently broken in you. It is a sign that you are alive, that you loved, and that you are in the process of finding out who you are when you stop organizing yourself around someone else. That process is not quick, it is not linear, but it is real, and it leads somewhere worth going. Take your time, be honest with yourself, And don't mistake the silence for emptiness. Sometimes the silence is where you begin to hear yourself again. And if this spoke to a part of you that rarely gets heard, stay with that feeling for a moment. You are not broken because you feel deeply. You are only beginning to understand yourself. Subscribe to Inside the Labyrinth for more reflections on the hidden patterns of the human mind.